Okay, so 1, 2 linear equations in standard form. We started talking about standard form last class. And standard form is that form that is ax plus by equals c. There's our standard form. A has to be a positive number, and a, b, and c are integers, meaning no fractions, no decimals. When you guys were doing those assignments and I had the opportunity to go back and like either answer questions or look at, how you were answering, a lot of people were missing the standard form questions because you forgot to go back and look at your notes about those rules. So make sure we're using our rules. Now when we go to graph an equation that's in standard form, we're not going to change it to another form. That's extra work that I don't have to deal with. We're just going to keep it in the same form, and we're going to graph it by finding x and y intercepts and possibly the slope. So how do we find the x-intercept? Always in math, forever and ever. It doesn't matter what kind of equation it is. To find the x-intercept, you plug 0 in for y and solve for x. That is the rule for every single equation forever and ever in math. If you need the x-intercept, that's how you do it. If you need the y-intercept forever and ever and ever and ever and ever in every single equation in math, if you want to find the y-intercept, you can plug in 0 for x and solve for y. So while we're going over that for a line, it works for every single equation we're going to graph this year. To find the slope, now this is only specific for standard form. So to find the slope in STD form, you can do, and I had this on our notes last time, negative a over b. If you do negative a over b, that will be the slope. Shortcut for you. So we're going to find that information, and we're going to graph some lines. And I've given you 4 different examples. First one's just to go over it, then after that, some of them have things that people make mistakes on or have questions on. So the first one, when you do your work, especially on a quiz or a test, I have to be able to look at it and know what you were thinking. It's not just did you get the right answer, but did you understand the mathematics? Are you learning? Like, that's the important part in here. Because sometimes, I don't know, have you met me? I make a lot of silly mistakes. If you don't know that yet, you'll see it. Probably see it today. And if I was only graded on if I have the right answer, I would fail. Because I make so many silly mistakes. I know what I'm doing. I just get distracted, and then I forget a negative, or I am talking and I write down the wrong number by accident. Things happen. So I think it's very important that we focus on learning how to do it. Okay? So keep yourself organized. I'm going to find the x and the y intercepts. I like to make a table. You do not have to make a table. I like to make a table because it helps me stay organized. And I have x-intercepts and y-intercept. To find the x-intercept, we make y 0. So in my table, 3x plus 2 times 0 equals negative 12. I made y 0. So I have 3x equals negative 12. So I have x equals negative 4. Emma, how do I write an x-intercept?
You do parentheses 0, comma, negative 4.
Almost, that's the y-intercept. You do negative 4, comma, 0. But thank you for remembering we have to put it in as an ordered pair. Okay? And same thing with Canvas. If you put it in as just negative 4, it's going to mark it wrong. Now for the y-intercept, we make x 0. 3 times 0 plus 2 times y equals negative 12. So 2y equals negative 12. Y is negative 6. And Maria, how do I write the y-intercept?
0,
negative 6. Great. Now we're also going to write down our slope. And if you do not know the little trick formula, negative a over b, if you don't have that memorized, write it every single time so that you get it memorized. You don't want to practice something until you get it right once. You want to practice something until you can't get it wrong. So negative a over b, we go to the equation, negative 3 over 2, and that's reduced, so that's my slope. So to graph it, we can graph negative 4, 0 on the x-axis, the y-axis, 0, negative 6. Now, I highly recommend we use our slope just to make sure we didn't make any silly mistakes, because I've seen people put the x and y's on the wrong axes or go positive when you clearly wrote down a negative. Things happen. So let's use our slope just to double check that we put everything where it needs to go. From one point to the other, can I go down 3, right 2 to get there? If these all fit on that same line, hopefully, fingers crossed, we've done it correctly. And remember, you have a line, oops, that was not good though. You have a line to make your line straight. All right, the next one I want you to try all by yourself, and then we'll go over it. I want you to try the next one. So if you started solving, you might be like, oh, I bet this is the trick sheet's talking about. This is probably, remember I told you there's certain things I purposely put in here because people get stuck on. Does everybody know what I'm talking about? You're finding your x-intercept maybe? I'll be right there to go over it. Remember, if you need to bring your Chromebook charger to school, I'm okay with you. I've got plugs all over the room. Okay? It's 6 bell, it's the end of the day. You didn't do a good job or our battery doesn't hold a lot. I don't want it to die in our clock. Okay. So I plugged in 0 for y. And then I'm going to solve for x. So I've got 4, whoops. I've got 4x equals 2. We divide by 4, and I get x equals 2 over 4 is a half. So it's okay to have a fraction. Oh, we're going to have fractions in this class. It's pre-calc. Welcome. 1/2 0 will be the ordered pair. And then for the other one, negative y equals 2. Divide by negative 1 or multiply by negative 1. And we get y is negative 2, so the ordered pair, 0, negative 2. Our slope, negative a over b, we'll do negative 4, and then our b is negative 1. So those will become positive 4. When you go to type it in Canvas, do not type in 4 over 1. We always type in the reduced answer. We're going to type in just 4. Okay? Graphing it, 1/2 0, well, that'll be in the half spot. 0, negative 2. And then I'm going to use my slope. I'm going to start at the integer to go up 4 over 1. I'm not going to worry about that fraction. Up 4 over 1. But as soon as I do that, I can tell that that half 0, that is on the line too. So I'm just kind of double checking that everything fits on that line, and it does. If you had a line like this, but you had some random point over here, what would that tell you? It would tell you you're wrong about something. You can go back and check your work. All right, the next one. Excuse me. XY intercepts. And you guys, I like to explain every single tiny little detail, especially because right now I'm recording. So this is what I'm going to post, hopefully. If you work ahead of me, that's totally fine. You just got to make sure that you're like checking the answers. All right, so x-intercept, we're going to do 6x plus 4 times 0 equals 10. So 6x equals 10. So x is 10 over 6, which is 5 over 3. You're going to type in Canvas 5/3, 0. Do not turn it into a decimal. Do not turn it into a mixed number. Leave it as 5/3. Y-intercept, 6 times 0 plus 4y equals 10. So 4y is 10. Y is 10/4, which is 5/2. 0, 5/2. Same thing. Do not turn it into a decimal. Leave it as 5/2. And that's only because of the way that you need to, well, it's not the only reason, but the way that you need your answers to match mine. I'm not going to do any extra work. I'm going to leave it as 5/2. I'm not going to change it to a decimal. It's too hard to type in a mixed number answer. All right, slope. Negative a over b is negative 6 over 4. Would you get that correct if you typed negative 6 over 4? You would not. Emily Ruff, why? You need to simplify, reduce it, yes. So negative 3 over 2. All right, 5/3, 0. Now when I go to graph that, I can think of 5/3 being 1 2/3 or 1.67. When you go to graph it, it's just going to be an approximation anyway. And then 2.5 for y. Is my slope negative? And is my line going to be going downhill? There's some checks that we're doing as we're graphing. To find more points, I don't need more points, but to find more points, I could sit at either of these points and do down 3 over 2 or up 3 left. Doesn't matter which point. But I'm going to pick the one at the half rather than the one at the thirds. It's a little easier. So I can go up 3, left 2. I could go down 3, right 2, down 3, right 2. But every time I do that, it's going to end up at another half. Like they're not nice integers. So this one I probably gave you because we had all those fractions. The next one, let's see if you can figure out why I gave it to you. Go ahead and work without me. I'm going to do it up here without talking through it so you can try it on your own if you haven't yet. when you finish your work, you guys might have graphed it already. I didn't quite graph it yet, but when you finish your work, you can look up to see that you have the same x and y intercepts and slope. Grace, do you know why I gave this one? Right, because they don't fit on the graph. That's why I gave you this one. So we can talk about that together. You were able to plot it? How? Did you change your scale? So that's what we're talking about. That's exactly what we're going to talk about. All right, so, sorry. There has to be a standard way of knowing what our scale is. So when I look at this and there's no numbers on it, I assume we're counting by ones. So if you change the scale, you have to tell me, or whoever you're giving graphs to. If you change the scale, you have to tell me. It is not acceptable I'm telling you right now, it is not acceptable for you to go over to the side and write counting by fives or something like that. Don't write it off in a corner. Don't do that. See? No, don't. Okay. So what you want to do instead is, what would be a good number to make the scale, each little tick mark, so that we can fit -30 and 45 on the graph? Natalie's. What would be a good number? Fives would work. Tens would work. Okay, so let's do fives because that was your idea. Now, this is how you do it. You ready for this? This is crazy. You ready? Now everybody knows I'm counting by fives in both directions. See, it's right on the graph. I don't have to go find directions in some scribbled word somewhere. It's right there on the graph. That's how you should change your scale. Now, did I have to change both the x and the y the same? You do not have to. However, for this one it works, and anytime I do lines, I usually like to change them the same because of what's going to happen with the slope, which I'll get to in a second. When we start graphing those crazy polynomials, we aren't going to make the axes count by the same stuff. But just for the lines, I think doing the same is good. All right, and then let's see. For negative, go ahead and graph -30, 0 and 40, 0, 45. And then I want to use my slope to find some more points. So my slope is up 3/2, but going up 3/2 is really, really tiny. So what Kevin and I were just talking about is slope's a ratio. You could go up 30/20 if you want. Or what are my boxes worth? How much each one? 5. So I could go up 3 5s over 2 5s. That is a ratio that allows me to just take my slope and just go Because I'm counting by the same amount each time, it fits, it works. And that's why I suggest when you have lines making them the same, just because the slope will work then. Oops. Okay. All right, the next section, we did a little bit of this the first day, finding standard form of the equation of the line with the given information. We just have a little bit more practice and different scenarios. So this time, I'm going to start with the slope-intercept form of the line, and we need to put it into standard form, ax plus by equals c. And Ryan, what could I do to start getting this into standard form? Okay, so then I would have negative 2/3 x, and I'll go ahead and put it first because I know it needs to come first, plus y equals -4. And Caitlin, is this standard form? It is not. That is right. Can you tell me why? Because I've got a number that's not an integer. We can't have fractions. We can't have decimals. Is that the only thing? Hold on. Ava? Wait, Ava? Yeah? The first letter, the A, yeah. It was muffled. I couldn't hear you all the way. Yes. Also, we can't start with a negative number. So you could take 2 steps to change all that, or you could do it in 1 step. It's up to you. Does anybody know how I could do it in 1 step? Stephanie? By what? Well, 3 will take care of the fraction part. That won't change the number up front to be positive. So if I multiply by -3, I'm doing it all in 1 step. You could also do it in 2 steps. That's totally up to you guys. I like to do the least amount of work, though, so we get 2x minus 3y equals positive 12. Now that is standard form. All right, a horizontal line that passes through the point -7, 10. Sometimes I'm visual. Sometimes I'm a visual person. Well, a lot of times. But with this kind, a horizontal line, I'm like, what does that look like? Horizontal line. Let's see, we've got -7, 10. It's about here. And we've got a horizontal line that passes through that. Horizontal line. I have to write the equation for that. We know it passes through -7, 10. Do we know the slope? Do we know the slope? Courtney, do you know the slope of a horizontal line? 0 over 1?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I didn't know what you meant. Yeah, but 0 over 1 reduces, so I'll just call it 0. Okay, good. And do we know the y-intercept? Do we know the y-intercept, Eva? 10, right, because it passes through the point -7, 10, so this has to be 10 right there. So if I know the slope and I know the y-intercept, I can put it into y equals mx plus b form. That's not the form I need it in, but I can put it in that form. Now 0x is not really there, so y equals 10. And now it's already in standard form. Like, I'm not going to write 0x plus y equals 10 for my standard form. I'm not going to write the 0x in there, okay? So y equals 10 is done. So for horizontal and vertical, sometimes I just like to graph them. I think it goes faster that way. All right, next one passes through the points -2, -4, and 4, -2. Again, we're putting it in standard form, ax plus by equals c. And we can't just stick it straight into standard form. We need to put it in one of those other forms. Lydia, from last class, we learned what to do when there's 2 points. Do you know what I should do next, Lydia? Yeah, totally. We've got to find the slope. So -2 minus -4 over 4 minus -2. You guys check my work. Did I do that right? 1/3. That's what I got. Do you get the same thing? I make mistakes sometimes. So. All right, so we got 1/3 for our slope. So now what could we do if we know the slope? Nathan, do you know what we could do? Point slope form? Sure, let's do point slope form. Do you have a question? Oh, what did I do wrong? Can you be more specific? Okay, so we're good? All right. It's okay. It's all good. I'm sorry, point slope form, remember if you don't have it memorized, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Make sure you just like writing it every time till you can't get it wrong. We're going to plug in, which ordered pair should I plug in? Anybody care? Does anybody care? Does anybody care? You want -2, -4, why?
Because then it'll be additional.
Yeah, because it turns into positives. I would do the same thing. There isn't a wrong answer. You can do the other ordered pair if you want. But yeah, I would use the first one. Y minus plus 4, when I plug it in, becomes positive. 1/3 times x plus 2. All right, is that standard form? No, that's point and slope form. So, Hayden, what do I need to do or get rid of or move or something so it can be ax plus by equals c? What's something I should do? Okay. We can't have the parentheses, so we're going to distribute that. Y plus 4 equals 1/3 x plus 2/3. Notice how I did that without taking out a calculator? Yeah. You guys are going to have to multiply a number and a fraction without a calculator. Okay. All right, that's standard form? No. Brian, do you know what I could do next? Brian, did you hear me? Do you know what I need to do next to put it in standard form? I just didn't hear you. Can you say a little louder? Subtract 2/3 to put it in standard form? So, we can. Okay. I'm going to tell you right now that's not what I would do. But we can do that. The reason why I wouldn't do that is because now I have to deal with common denominators. And I don't like to deal with common denominators if I can avoid it. But I can do it. So 12/3 minus 2/3 is 10/3. So I get y plus 10/3 equals 1/3 x. Not in standard form yet. Katie, what could I do from where the step that I'm at? What could we do next to get it into standard form? Okay. I just put it over there. Like, you might have done something different, but looking at what I have up here, what's going to be the easiest way to get it to standard form next? Or does anybody want to volunteer that information? Maybe you can see it better. Stephanie? Right, if I move the y over, now at least I have the x and the y on the same side. So now I've got, and I'm going to rearrange it too. 1/3 x minus y equals 10/3. As long as you have the same stuff on the same sides, you can move those two sides around from symmetric property from geometry. It allows you to move the two sides around. All right, now we're done, right? This is standard form, Brady, right? This is standard form?
Is it the one on the far right?
Yeah, this one over here. Is that standard form?
No.
Why?
Yeah,
What do I have there that
that is.
we can't have fractions, right? That one rule people forget about a lot. So we have to multiply, since it's dividing by 3, we're going to multiply by 3 on both sides. And that will give us x minus 3y equals 10. Now we have it in standard form. All right, the next one is a total review from last class. I am going to talk through this one so we don't waste too much time on just doing our notes. I'd rather get you guys into the assignment quicker. So I'm going to talk through this one. Perpendicular to 4x minus y equals 1, and it passes through this point of 2, 1. Did I go too fast?
Yeah, we're just writing a lot.
Okay, I can pull it up a little bit. I do want to remind you I am recording a video, so if I do go too fast, you can always just go back and find that little spot in the video where you didn't quite finish and just fill those in, okay? Or if you didn't get it at all, watch the whole thing, like if you were sleeping. You know. All right, so when we do perpendicular, we start talking about slopes. So the first thing I'm going to do is find the slope of this equation. It's in standard form, so I'll do negative a over b to find that slope, which is negative 4 over negative 1, and that's 4. But that's not the slope I use. This is perpendicular, so I do not use the same slope. Perpendicular slope is opposite reciprocal, so I'm going to flip it and change the sign. Oops, I forgot the M there. So my perpendicular slope is negative 1/4. That's the slope we're going to use. We will use the point they gave us, 2, 1, and I'll put it in point slope form. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So y minus 1 equals negative 1/4. X minus 2. All right, we could distribute. Y minus 1 equals negative 1/4 x plus 2/4. Make sure you distribute the negative. And this is where, when I called on somebody up above and I was like, that's not the order I would have done it, I'm going to do this one in the order I would have done it. At this point, before I start moving anything, I know I can't have fractions. I'm going to clear them out right now. I'm not going to wait till later. I'm going to get rid of them right now. So to get rid of a fraction of denominator of 4, I will multiply both sides by 4 over 1. So now I've got 4y minus 4 equals negative x plus 2. So I multiplied everything by 4, canceled out all denominators of 4. Put it in standard form. I'm going to add the x. And then add the 4. And unless I made any silly mistakes, that should be standard form. Okay? So you have some of those in your assignment. The last section, it's going to look intimidating. I promise you it's not. It's not that bad. There's some words. We'll read them together. We're going to write the equation in standard form from a real-life situation. You do not have to solve. You just have to write the equation. Each book in a store costs $10. Each magazine costs $6. You want to spend exactly $32. Let's say you have a gift card with exactly $32 on it. So you're going to spend exactly $32 at this store. Write an equation in standard form modeling the situation. Let X represent the number of books you buy and Y represent the number of magazines you buy. So the total amount of money we're going to spend is 32. That is a total. That's going to be like equals 32. You're going to take some books and some magazines up to the counter, and they're going to ring it up. They're going to do $10 times the number of books, and the number of books is X, plus $6 times the number of magazines, which is Y. And that's going to equal your total of 32. That's all you have to do for this question. You just read the situation, set up the equation. So I'm going to read this one. You guys are going to write on your paper or your whatever you're taking notes on. You're going to write down what you think it would be. Your team is working a concession stand for a fundraiser, and you budget $100 to spend on supplies. You can buy hot dogs for $3 per package and frozen burger patties for $9 per package. Write an equation in standard form modeling the situation. Let X represent the number of packages of hot dogs and Y represent the number of packages of hamburger patties you buy. Did you already write it down? Is that super fast? I hope so. It should be pretty easy. The total is 100. Hold on. Malachi, do you know what we'd write? 3x plus 9y. Equals 100? Perfect. Okay, so that's the first notes. That's the first assignment that you're going to do. When you go back to Canvas and your modules, that next link is that first assignment. After that, enter assignment here. So you're going to plug in some answers. You're going to upload your work. I'm going to stop talking for about, 7 minutes or so. You can open it. You can send it over to your Cami. You can get it open. You can start working on it. Just so you can stop hearing me talk for about 7 minutes. And then we got to do the other notes.